Guys, whether you agree with Jacinta or not, whether you like her or you don't like her, one thing for sure, she made South Africa to stand still. Much on much and all these things that's happening in South Africa. I've never seen Joburg like this before, where all the stores have closed and how there's no one orekisang even on the streets. And I think right now, most political parties or political leaders are full of envy of how these guys were able to pull something. Because I think the last time something like this happened, it was Cabo 93, Jurubu, ANC, and Ikata. You know, those the time where it was fragile. You know? I think something like this was the last time something like this was pulled. It was during that time. And EFF is one of the most radical parties at the moment, actually now, who at one point had a potential to do something like this. But Lebo Nanje, they have never, ever, ever pulled something to this degree, where there's not even a single shop able to. But other than that, I must say, our leaders are very disingenuous. With this thing, Pan-Africanism. Funny enough, if you go more Africa kaofela nje, nobody's speaking about Pan-Africanism. Even if nobody's speaking it the way South African leaders they advocate for it. Yeah, this thing and all that. And it puts itself, okay, if those countries don't have the same sentiments as you guys, why would you feel like you have to accommodate and you have to be the one or to sang everybody? Because I don't know anybody. You know this bag? Most South Africa, Ribita Mashangani bag. But in West Africa, as Ghana must go. And I think it was because of, I think in 1983, the Nigerians were chasing out the Ghanaians out of into Nigeria. And as the story goes, or they used to pack their things in those bags, or a Ghana must go. Till today, most West African countries, they call into these bags Ghana must go. So it's not even a new thing until it's a halano. And I know Ghana, it has happened to Ghanaians, Nigerians, and all that. But one weird thing, I think the one weird thing, if let's say this thing, borderless Africa does happen, because now I think in 1979 there were 50 African countries. In 1980 when Zimbabwe got their independence, there were 51 African countries. 90, I think there were 52 when Namibia got their independence from South Africa. I think in 93 Eritrea joined. And then South Sudan happened, I think, at the late 2000s. So there were 53 countries. Right now, there's an issue where there's a 54th country. There's a part of Morocco wants to break away from Morocco. They call themselves West Africa something, Sahara something, to go there. It's partially recognized as a sovereign country. So my question becomes, if Africa becomes borderless, like everybody's saying is, it means now we're going to have one president or one leader. That's what Gaddafi was saying. He was advocating that, and he was saying, choose me, I'll be the president. So now, it means out of 54, 53 will be unemployed. That way will not tell us money. That will never happen under any circumstances. So Babu and just because they know it gets attraction, people who vote. And actually, that's why a lot of leaders from other countries, they're very silent about it. So, and I think one of the biggest, the biggest gripe that I have is that as a South African, if you go to other countries, I mean, I've been to I've been to Zimbabwe. I drove to Zimbabwe. So when you get to Bay Bridge and you get to on the South African side, I think it took about 30 minutes for us South Africans to get cleared from the South African side. Then, okay, we crossed over Limpopo, like the no man's land. Then you go to Zimbabwe. Once you get to the Zimbabwe side of things, now we're no longer Kuntakohayim, because now when you're in Zimbabwe, now you have to play Zimbabwe laws. And I think in most, even you go to the airport, when you come into a country, if you're coming into your home country, only queue like in South Africa or Tambo, there's a section here South Africans only, and there's a section here everybody else. So if you're a South African and you go to the South African, usually clears quicker than everybody else, where sometimes it's only about 4 or 5 into aircrafts with almost over 500 people. So those 500 people to probably sometimes even take them over an hour just to go through immigration. So the same thing we saw with Zimbabwe. That was the case. Now you have Zimbabwean, but our priority to the Zimbabweans. It took us 2 hours to go past the border gate on the Zimbabwean side. And once Nagamo Zimbabwe, speed limit is 100. And every South African car, there's no roadblock with a South African registration, more so if it's a GP registration. And I remember next time I was traveling with friends, and because I tend to be heavy footed on the accelerator. So I remember to my friend that, hey dude, when I was flying, so I will drive, you'll drive after it to Zimbabwe, which is what we did well. But once you have that speed limit, just know for hey, and the fine things, it's fine thing about 1,000. I mean, this was over 18 years ago. So 1,000 rand was a lot of money just to pay for nearly a fine on the spot, like that. Passport how, but it's with you, on you all the time. But it's not even negotiable to put that. And people were friendly. To be quite honest, people there, they were quite friendly. Mozambique, I drove to Mozambique. So clearing South Africa was easy. We did it with, I think, even less than 30 minutes. And I think as far as security is concerned, Mozambique is the most chilled one, because we crossed over to the Mozambican side, past no man's land. The next thing, I was looking for space to park. The next thing, the cars are getting scarce and scarce and scarce. The next thing, But now we are in the country. So you had to make a U-turn. In fact, if you continue, then a week later when you're coming back, what's that? Hey, and that kind of nonsense. So we made a U-turn, go to the border post. And we no longer go high, because once you get there, they give you entry form or exit form. So I told I'm South African, I can into your country on this date and so on. And that form is written in Portuguese. And good thing that there are guys just to fill it in and all that. So when they came, can we help you? It's like, nah, I'm not interested. So the guys were saying, no, I don't want your help. So you had to humbly go back to them, just to fill in this form. And I think one of the things that was crossing my mind in heaven, this is an official form where you fill in your details, where you want to stay, the reason for your visit, and all that type of information. And you give it to somebody else, or just took it and just filled it in. Whether honest, because unless it's your name. I mean, your name is your name. But the reasons of him to visiting, in Portuguese and gives it to them like that. So, but yeah, Leon, it didn't take that long. I think probably an hour to 70 minutes, somewhere there. And then we went in, I think, between the border and Maputo. It was a roadblock A1. Then from Maputo, we were going to Shai Shai. So Shai Shai is 150 kilometers away from Maputo, going north. And on that stretch, 150 kilometers. I mean, that's like from Joburg to Hammanskraal, give or take, something like that. On that stretch of road, it was more than 5 roadblocks, not exaggerating. It could be even 7, to be quite honest. Our registration, the GP registration, and the thing, it's same thing. Wherever you go, passport, you don't travel, don't go anywhere without your passport. Then I say again, the people are quite friendly. I think the passport thing and all that, it applies if you got like an police and all that, they obviously want it. But once you do say wherever you are or with the locals, nobody wanted passport or proof of identity. Botswana. So Botswana, it was a weird one. Or interesting one. So Botswana, I flew into Botswana and drove out of Gaborone to Joburg. So I was visiting a friend to Gaborone, and she wanted to come to South Africa for whatever reasons. So she was coming to South Africa. So we came back together. So flying side, it was no issues in there. Even in Botswana, there was no issues. There was nothing weird about it. It was more so, it felt more home than the other two. And besides the language as well. In any issue, if you've been to Northwest, if you've been to Limpopo, certain parts of Limpopo, Gaborone and the other parts of Botswana that I've been, it really looked like, the way the mountains look and all that, it really looked like what I used to see in South Africa. But when you're coming back, because we were driving, we got to the border. Because Botswana, she cleared very quickly. I think she did it in less than 15 minutes. It took me a while for me to pass. Then we got to South African side. She took long to clear on the South African side. I think I did it in less than 5 minutes as well. Even though it felt home, I always carried my ID, my passport with. And Lena, this lady, whenever she's in South Africa, I think she's more in South Africa than I went to Botswana. So she has her traveling documents on her all the time. Egypt. Egypt is weird. Because it's an Arab country, everything is in Arab. And so because of that, it's easily to be seen, this one is an outsider. But later into it, there was nothing weird about it. So because the weird thing is Egypt, because it's extremely hot, like the country is extremely. It was the first time into temperatures that past 45 degrees. So a lot of life or a lot of things happen at night. 2 o'clock or 11. Late in South Africa, Cairo is very alive. So there's a lot of things that's happening at night in Cairo. But leading, you carry your thing. You say you couldn't travel, go around Cairo and all that, but just because you're darker than them, this one is not local. Letting but stop a hangout like most a lot of times they stop you. But if you should show them to your passport, but that's what happens in a lot of countries. So this thing, Africa is open to all. Only South African leaders say that.